Welcome to Written by Her, a special series of Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. I'm Melissa Banks, and I'm so excited you decided to join us today. I believe every woman has a story of courage, of faith, of resilience, a story that deserves to be told. On this series, we sit down with incredible women authors who dare to put their experiences, wisdom, and dreams on paper. We go beyond the pages and into the journey, the challenges they face, the lessons they learned, and the moments that almost made them quit, and the courage it took to keep writing. Because every book begins with a dream, but every author has the story behind the story. So whether you're an aspiring author, an entrepreneur, a dreamer, or a woman navigating her own journey, my prayer is that these conversations inspire you, empower you, and move you to action. This is Written by Her, where women share their stories, their voices, and their purpose. So let's get started with today's guest. Our guest today is Tessa Marie. Tessa Marie Schillingford is an author, a speaker, and a content creator. Thank you for being here, Tessa Marie.
Oh, thank you so much, Melissa, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be there with you. I look forward to whenever you do these things, I want to jump on right away.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. Congratulations, Tessa. You have not one, but two books, Recipe for Joy and Archibald and Daisy Sour Up. Did I say it right?
Sour up.
Okay.
Exactly.
I can't wait to dive into hearing about the journey to these books. I'm excited about them. The covers just make you excited when you see them. Very well done. So thank you for that. There you go. Yay. Absolutely beautiful books. Beautiful. So talk to us, Tessa, about how it got started. What inspired you to write them? And what was going on in your world when you decided to write them?
Okay, so these are the two latest books. Actually, I have been writing all my life. I think I was born a storyteller. And I wrote books. The true thing behind these two books is these were written because of the stories I read to my grandchildren. But I started writing stories for my children. And my purpose for writing the stories for my own children was that I wanted their imagination to soar. So instead of letting them read books from an author in a distant land, a distant culture, a distant belief and all of that, I wrote those books. And for them, not these two, and it took me years. And the thing about writing these books was that I wrote them on the way to work. I wrote them in the bus at lunchtime. I wrote them when I was half asleep. Because every night I had to have it prepared to read to them. That was the bedtime story. Because I wanted them to just see things, hear it, and feel it, and describe it. So when my grandson, who is 17 now, started visiting me from the United States, that's where he lives, and he would come for the entire 10 weeks of the summer. He started coming at the age of 6. And I had to read him bedtime stories. So I created them the same way I did for his aunts and his father. And then I'm telling him this one, which is called Archibald and Daisy Sour Up. So this book is the story I told him in the last 2 years before COVID. And it's a story that started in a snowstorm that we had in Northern Ontario in 1998. And the two little towns, one spoke English, one spoke French, as you know, we're bilingual here. So, and it's a young couple that met during the cleanup for the snowstorm. But what got this book to be funny and lessons learned is that in the middle of telling him the story, Daisy wanted a white picket fence around the house that we just bought. But Archibald did not want to put a picket fence. So one night they had a dispute about it, and she sat outside by herself and she said, it's not that he doesn't want the fence. He sees the fence as money nailed to the ground. It's not necessary. So I'm going to find a job to make the money. And then so when she left the next day to go get the job, she did not make him breakfast. And my little grandson, I'm telling him the story, and he breaks into the story for little raspy voice, lying right next to me in my bed. He goes, you know what? She isn't a very good wife. she should make him dinner, breakfast before she went to get the job. I turned and I looked at him. I said, "So you're chauvinistic?" And then I said, "Because of that, Archibald is not going to be normal." And then I made him a klutz. So when you get to the book, you will find that, and the characters are black in skin tone, because that's how it's supposed to be. So this is his attempt of making coffee. You notice where he is. And there's an egg on his head. He fell because he put the coffee where the water went, the water where the coffee went, turned on the machine, and well, you know the rest. He ended up in the hospital anyway. So, and then his father read the story and said to me, "Mom, why did you make him a klutz?" And I said, "That's because your son is chauvinistic." So that was the first one for the series for my grandchildren. And then this one, the name is, the carrot is an I, so Gialisma. My new granddaughter's name is Gianna Lisa Marie. So her two middle names are after her grandmothers, and Gianna is her first name. And I saw this at her parents' house, this pottle in the forest, and it had round and flowers growing around it. And then I took a picture of it. And I came home and I put a door on it. But in there, where they live is really wooded and lovely, and there are bunnies all over. So I decided to make a female bunny a scientist, to build girls that they can do anything. So that's why I did that.
About that, a couple of things that you said that stood out. First of all, when you were talking about your early years, and I think it's important for people to understand that everything doesn't have to be perfect. You said you were writing on your way to work. You were writing on your breaks. You were writing when you could in the situation that you were in. It didn't have to be perfect. You didn't have to have the perfect computer or the perfect notepads. You were just writing, and that's so critical to me in the whole journey. I love that he gave you some feedback.
He did. He was a riot. He did all along. He told me my bed was much more comfortable than his. I should exchange bed with him. And then I said no. He said, "That is because my bed is not as comfortable." So it was a riot with him. But you know what happened last Christmas? I spent Christmas with my son and his family, and the Christmas before. And he said, "Mom, I can't remember the ending of Mr. Brown and the apple tree." And I said, "You can't?" He said, "No." So I decided I was going to put that book together. I had a container full of all these pages I told you about. I'm in a room that is 20 feet by about 15 or 16. I think it's 20 by 20, they told me. I cleared all the furniture, and I had all these pieces of paper dated because they were dated then. And I recreated the book. I haven't published it, but what I did last Christmas, I went to Staples and I got them to put it in a binder. But the front was the picture of the character Mr. Brown. And when he held it in his hand, I gave it to him as Christmas last year. I just saw his face change. He said, "Exactly as I remember." And he left and he went upstairs to his office. I have never seen the book again.
Oh, wow.
So that one is coming out this Christmas.
Awesome. Looking forward to seeing that. Talk to us, Tessa Marie, about any challenges that you've been a writer for a long time. So talk to us about any challenge that you had to overcome to continue and to keep writing and to be a published author.
The first challenge was the publishing world. And that I need to explain to the people who are listening to us now. The publishing world does not make you, or New York Times does not make you a New York Times bestseller. You pay $50,000 or more or less, or if you have a name, they absorb that, and they send you all over, and you get to be in all the different shows. And as the book sells, so does it goes up, and that's how you become the seller. If you guys remember once, Oprah said something to Steve Harvey when he wrote that book about think like a man and act like a woman, whichever it was. And she said, people say I don't, how did her words were? It's not perfect, but what she said was, people said that I don't do something, but I watched and I watched and I watched. And when you became number one, I brought you here. When you became a number one bestseller, I brought you here. So that tells you that people don't do it for you. It's the money you pay that brings it up. So to get that book published, you have to have a name behind you, or you pay money so they can market you and market the book. And that's what get people. So you're on all these shows. So you have to know that. So if you write a book to become a bestseller, that's your wrong reason for writing the book. So what I knew for sure, and I think it's the confidence I was brought up with, I want to write a book. I have a book. I am not writing it for anybody. I'm writing it because of my desire to write it. And when I wrote Controlling the Debt Monster, that same little monster, my grandson Michael, he said to his dad, "Did you know my Grammy is a published author?" And so his father said, "Yes, I do." So, but I paid a firm to help me put this book together, and that is how I learned. And then when Amazon started doing it, I did all my work. So all this thing is done, all these pictures and all these things in these books and all these images are done from us. Just going in and learning the different things, and then you put it on Amazon. So although the book might cost $20, it's hardcover, it's in color, the author might get $1.25 per book if you're lucky. So if you're waiting and expecting that you have the story to tell, but you want it to be perfect so that you can be a bestseller, if you are an avid reader, you know the books you've read, that there are lots and lots of errors in there, grammatical errors, quotations, whatever. So you want to write a book, write your book. Find out how to publish it on Amazon and put it there. And tell the friends and family that you do that. And you also have to be aware they're not going to buy the book. Even if they're close to you, they won't. But you have to do it for your sake. Because Willie Nelson, the country singer, gave us a quote. He said, "Regret is etched on my brow, and I can do nothing about it now." Regret comes to you on your deathbed, and it just circles you. You had a book inside of you. You needed to read that book. Why didn't you? You needed to write that book. Why didn't you? You're dying and you've killed me with you. So that is the lessons and observation I made. And I decided I'm going to write the book. I don't care who buys it. I'm writing it for me. And all I always say, there's one person out there, one day in the ethers of time, that will pick up that book and will find one thing that helped them. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what matters.
That's awesome. Tessa Marie, that is so powerful, because what you just said is your reasoning for writing the book should be for you. And you should keep writing regardless of who buys it and who doesn't buy it. Get your word out, get your message out, get your story out. I love that. Let me reset here, Tessa Marie. If you're just joining us, this is written by her, a special series of Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. Our guest today is Tessa Marie Schillenborg. Okay, Tessa Marie, oftentimes women, we do have self-doubt, right? So when writing, sometimes we just talk ourselves out of it. Did you ever have moments where you just doubted yourself, that you didn't feel confident that you can get it completed? And if so, how were you able to push through those moments?
Okay, so I'm going to give you guys my tips. I'm a woman that shares. I don't believe in keeping what I know. My dad taught me that knowledge is not yours to keep. What you know, you must teach. Now, a long time ago, I am Christian, I'm Catholic. So I was brought up, I went to schools with the nuns. That's why I went to boarding school since I was about 10, 3 years before that, from the time I was 3. Anyway, I was at that type of schooling. And one day I was sitting at home, and all I heard was, all you have to do is write for 15 minutes every day. 15 minutes. So that's what I do. Some days I might do an hour, but I write for 15 minutes every day. I have so many amazing books that I just the need that I have written. And I said they're amazing because I did them. And I believe in the four agreements. Everything I say about me or you is impeccable and exquisite. So, yes, my books are amazing. They've come from me. Another little side thing I use, you put a noise canceling headphone on, you put it on mystical music, or you put it on romantic music. You put it on and Mozart for the brain. You put it on Liszt or Beethoven. You find a beat that just what is his name? Debussy. I love Debussy. I forgot his first name, but he does the piano and you put it on, and you do not say, well, make a plot. You just said, and today is Friday, Wednesday, Tuesday, and I'm sitting out here. You know, I just noticed the spider climbing the wall, and I saw this, and oh, maybe not. The butterfly, look at this butterfly, it's so unique. There's something about it. I noticed, oh, one of the wings are broken. What does that remind me? The person who has only one leg. And you can just write. So it's you. The music will put you in the frame of mind. Do not go for harsh hunging music. Go for something that will cause you to breathe slower. And do not expect it to make sense. You just keep going. It will make sense. And practice. If you gave me a word, Melissa, I can give you a paragraph about that word. One word. But that takes consistent practice. So somebody will say to you about a rose or something, I don't know, a word, and bread. Right? Say something about bread. And you go, walking by the bakery on Fifth Avenue and Jones, the intoxicating flavor and sense and aroma of freshly baked bread made me remind of a day in Paris when I sat at the bank and had a croissant with cheese and the breath, and then the wine came, and you see,
Oh my, oh my goodness.
you practice that, Melissa. You
Oh
practice.
wow.
I got you going. You don't want a romantic one. You just don't want it.
That was so amazing though. I've never seen anybody do that before. So Tessa Marie, the books you have, your newest books, The Recipe for Joy and the Archibald books, talk to us about what you want women to, people, whoever reads it, to walk away from when they finish reading the book.
That is, you go into, do not go with expectation. Just begin. Like Archibald, right? Let me just read you a little bit of it. And just so you see how I started it, there is no big deal happening there. To my precious grandchildren, may you always know that love, laughter, and a little bit of mischief makes the sweetest stories. This one is for you with all my heart. In a quiet village called Mid Forest, nestled on the border between Ontario and Quebec, lived two young people who had never met, Archibald and Daisy. Mid Forest was a special place. Half the village spoke English and the other half spoke French. Street signs were posted in two languages, and the bakery smelled of both maple syrup and croissant. One could walk from a hockey game to a violin recital in 5 minutes. It was a village with rich music, languages, and magic. So then it comes, so they're both 23, and chapter 2, the snowstorm that changed everything. It was 1998. The snow felt like it had never fallen before. It piled on rooftops, curled around chimney tops, blanketed the village in a silence. Power lines sagged under the weight. Roads disappeared beneath snowdrifts. And on the third day, relief came. So it just started like that. That young 7-year-old, 6-year-old, I wanted his imagination to picture it. You know, to picture where there's two types of street signs. One, and in Canada, we have it in all languages. If it's a Greek neighborhood, it's in Greek and English. If it's Spanish, it's in Spanish and English. So I wanted him to see that. So you just start. Something, if you have a need to write, there's something inside of you can break open. We cannot see the yolk until we crack the egg. And don't expect to start big. Everything starts small. When we started as a dot. It could not be seen with the naked eye. If they needed to find us, they needed a microscope. 9 months later, you have a baby. So think about it. And when you tell me you're not good enough and you cannot write, I have to tell you, the first race you ever started, you ever went into, you participated in a race and you won. And many people look at me, what race? And I go, well, you were the first one to sperm to find your way to your mother's uterus. You made it there first. Nobody else got there before you. So you won. So you are a winner already. Just right.
That's
You don't
powerful.
have to have a topic, just right.
That is so powerful, Tessa Marie. Thank you so much. Just right, ladies. If you have that thought, that desire, just right.
Just
Thank you
right.
for sharing with us. Thank you for being here and sharing your inspiring journey. Let us know how our audience can stay connected to you and keep up with all that you're doing.
I am on TikTok. I am on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I am all over where I am a Substack. Everywhere you want to go, you'll find me. Because I just want everybody to get a little bit of belief that you're good enough. You got Michael Jordan level talent. And if you know you have that, you can do anything.
Wow, powerful. And you're Tessa Marie on all these places?
I am Tessa Marie, and my biggest right now, I am pushing, because I just turned 80 in May, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was away in Europe, and everybody on the cruise that found out because of the party they had wanted to know what do I do? So I changed the name of the Morning Blessing on June 1st, and I started off with how to live a fulfilled life with Tessa Marie. And all of that is a fulfilled life. All of this, writing, loving you matter, you count. What are your words? Our words are the prophecies of our future, not the person you're talking about. So that's what it is. I just want you, that's why I'm all over the place. And
I
if
love
what
it. I love it. I love it. I
all
love
they
your
need is a little
energy,
bit.
just sharing with us. Thank you so much, Tessa
You're
Marie.
welcome.
What an
Thank you.
inspiring conversation we have had. Thank you to our audience for joining us for this edition of Written by Her, a special series of Dream by Design with Melissa Banks. A special thank you to our guest, Tessa Marie, for sharing her journey, her voice, and the story behind the story. My hope is that today's conversation reminds you that your story matters, your voice matters, and your next chapter is still being written. This is your host, Melissa Banks, saying keep writing, keep believing, and keep dreaming.
Thank you for having me, Melissa. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome for having me.